Advertising Week New York. This is AEW 360 Live. I have with me Eric Eslao from Défoncé.
Yeah.
All right, I got it.
Yeah, amazing.
All right, so I have to go back and ask you about some of your previous employment. You
Right.
were at Apple.
Yeah, so I worked at Apple for 7 years. I was a producer for worldwide marketing at iTunes. Really fun job, got to work with music, got to work with podcast team, but also I enjoyed working in just marketing. It was a really special time when I started at Apple, specifically at iTunes. The iPad just came out. iTunes was transitioning from a music store to more like providing podcasts, to books, to the App Store. So it was really just an amazing time for just creatives and just Apple at the time was pulling a lot of people from the magazine business, from obviously the record business, and also from books, and it was a really magical time when I was there.
So tell me how you got into the chocolatier business.
Chocolatier business, so specifically edibles. If you've ever been to California, California is the cannabis is very ingrained in the culture. I mean, we've been growing the best cannabis for decades. If the Bay Area started drug testing Bay Area tech companies, there would be no employees left.
So I do have to back up and say that you're not just a typical edibles that you'd find on the street corner here in New York City.
No.
It is cannabis.
Yeah. So what we looked at when we entered into the marketplace about 2 years ago, your traditional edible was still like a brownie that was made at home, wrapped in foil, printer label on top, and kind of like ambiguous, like this is strong or something like that. Like there was no sense of dosing, consistency, how it was made, and that you don't see that in food. Period. Like if you go to like Whole Foods this day, you could pick up an apple, not only know like what type of apple, where it was grown, how it was grown, when it was picked, if it was actually picked during the right season or if it was like out of season. Like there's so much information. Why wouldn't something that has a psychoactive effect be treated the same way?
Sure.
So part of the reason is because of the issues with regulation, and also that's still a gray market, hence why things like that happen. Now we're moving into recreational in California. So in January 1st, 2018, they're allowing cannabis sales for adult use. And that's really going to change the market where having a brand makes sense, marketing in a very specific way makes sense, and also just making amazing products. So one of the things I learned at Apple is like the best way to market something is by creating an amazing product.
Sure.
I mean, how I feel about marketing is, you have to build a good product, and you have to build packaging that communicates that. You can't build packaging around a crappy product and hope that it sells.
I probably resisted Apple products for way longer than I should have because I didn't want to be the person that jumped on the bandwagon because of the cool design and all. But then when I realized how amazing the products actually were, and I could keep them forever. Yeah. Seemingly.
Yeah.
At least in the tech space, it's forever.
Yeah.
So I can see where you definitely get that. So what sort of quality packaging and marketing? How much of this that you took from Apple, what you learned at Apple, are you applying into the chocolate?
Yeah. So when it comes to the actual design, I mean, there's some obvious, like immediate things that you're going to just automatically see, like the soft touch that we use on the actual packaging, the use of contrast and design. So like we have a very nice matte black, and we have a gold foil versus also a pop of color and pattern. Those elements, Apple really uses those like design by contrast. But even further, I really like the idea of simplicity. So we made a product that it's really easy to understand how to use it. Like there's no confusion. So there's a lot of edible products where it says like I said earlier, like this is strong.
Like, do I eat one, two?
Yeah.
Don't eat the whole batch, maybe.
Or like a lot of times they'll give you a cookie and the cookie would like eat a third of it. Like I've never eaten a third of a cookie.
No.
You can probably tell, but yeah, it's. But yeah, so we want to normalize it by normalizing not only how it looks, but normalizing the entire experience.
Sure. So what are you seeing as far as the other brands that are out there in the cannabis industry?
Yeah, so there's a lot of movement into edibles. The reason being is in the same way that there's also a lot of restaurants, is you essentially just need cannabis, something to cook with, and you have an edible company. When it comes to food manufacturing and really bringing to scale, it really takes a totally different set of skills. It takes a totally set of outlooks on just how to manufacture food. So when there is a lot of competitors, but there are also a lot of competitors that are making edibles in their home kitchen. For us, we have folks from Apple working for us, from General Mills, people from chocolatiers from Godiva.
Oh, wow.
So we're really into getting domain knowledge from the food industry and from tech companies where it makes sense, and really evolving how you create an edible.
Do you see the cannabis becoming legal in the majority of the states anytime soon?
Well, California, that's a big tipping point.
Yeah.
So, as we've seen with a lot of legislation, once that's broached in California, there's usually like a domino effect. I think cannabis is going to fall along the same lines, where recreational sales is going to bring in a tremendous amount of tax revenue for the state, and it's going to be very hard for the rest of the states to ignore it.
Right.
I think one of the reasons why they're a little bit of a lag behind other states, like let's say Washington or Colorado, is because they wanted to make sure that they legalize it correctly.
Sure.
So I think getting that part right, waiting a couple of years to kind of not be the first mover, I think is a good strategy, and I think it's going to be set up. It's going to set up California to be very successful next year.
I'm from Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah.
So huge tobacco country.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's been dwindling for many years. And as I look around some of the country areas, what used to be fields and fields of tobacco or sometimes corn and whatnot has transitioned into housing developments because the farmers couldn't stay in business.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that that would be a perfect industry to bring back some of these agricultural areas.
Yeah, cannabis at the end of the day, if you remove the stigma that has followed it for decades, it's a medicine that a lot of people take on a regular basis. And also at the same time, there's recreational benefits to it too. People really enjoy it to relax and just to kind of take it's kind of replacing the nightcap. I see no reason why, besides consuming it, the hemp industry is an amazing industry for paper, for a lot of things. So
I have seen many signs around the East where they're advertising for hemp farmers.
Right.
So that's a step in that direction.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you're looking forward to with Défoncé? Anything interesting coming up that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so Prohibited just announced it at the last session, but we're moving into retail spaces. So for us, we really want to control the entire experience in the same way that we've been able to redo how edibles are manufactured. We want to make sure that it doesn't stop with the product, that we also control how it's sold. So we've been in negotiations with multiple properties within California and also outside of California as well, of having Défoncé storefronts.
Well, Eric Eslao from Défoncé, thank you for joining me today.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll be back with more AW360 Live at Advertising Week New York.